Hello everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. It's the build-up show, Liverpool versus Brighton down there at the AMEX Stadium. I'm joined by Chris Pajak, by John Machin and by Ross Chandley for this one. Christopher Pajak. We did a good chat about this game on the podcast.
I thought so.
Let's try not to tread all over that. It was an expression you used on the podcast, which really annoyed me because I wrote this agenda 2 days ago. The most important priority for Liverpool with this game is getting back on the horse.
It has to be, doesn't it? I mean, 2 defeats on the bounce. We're not used to that this season. But the difference here is it's not 2 poor performances on the bounce. Mm-hmm. And I think we can all agree that, that Manchester City performance, although we were beaten, we played well, and that was the first team. The Wolves game I'm not too worried about. I think we've spoken about it at length over on the website and on YouTube about how, you can't judge that side in through the same lenses as you judge the first team. It wasn't the first team that played, and the confidence that Salah and Firmino played with when they came onto the field suggests that their confidence hasn't been knocked by the performance of the rest of the team. So yeah, Liverpool need to go out there. We need to put pressure on Manchester City again. I know you'll come on to it later, but we're in a good place. We play at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Manchester City play on Monday evening. So let's put some pressure on them once again.
I think Chris has got a spot on, Dad, in that it's 2 defeats back to back, and that doesn't look great. But there's a bit of lazy punditry going around where it's like Liverpool there are 2 L's back to back on the form guide. If that was the same team that played against Man City that lost against Brighton, I'd be well more upset with that situation.
That's the only thing wrong with the Wolves defeat, is that it looks like 2 defeats in a row, and all the papers say Liverpool are on the back of 2 defeats, blip and all that, and it's nothing of the sort. Mm-hmm. We really didn't want to play that game. I don't think he obviously needed to rest players, make sure there were no more injuries, and then Lovren goes and gets injured after seconds.
Yeah.
But forget about Wolves. We've got beat by the best other team in the division in their stadium, narrowly. No big deal.
Yeah.
Let's
just forget about Wolves, Paul. Listen to your dad.
Forget about it.
It's forgotten about.
Just don't mention it again.
I forgot about City, to be honest.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because I was on. I did the press box in LFC the other day, and we did the Wolves game, and then back to City, and I was like, and the Firmino goal was really good, and I was like, I can't even remember the Firmino goal. So I was like, yeah, and it was really interesting and waiting for it to come up on the screen. Oh God, yeah, that was a great goal.
We had the ball for about a minute in that one. I mean, the build-up play was absolutely superb for that goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a typical Bobby goal, though, wasn't it? You expect, if you look at it, he's got his eyes closed.
Yeah. Yeah, he puts it in with the back of his head just for a laugh. All that being said, Ross, because it is important Liverpool just to get back to winning ways. There would be something to be said, and I have no expectations on Liverpool to do this, by the way, but if Liverpool were able to construct a statement win, a high goal scorer and clean sheet kind of thing, I think that, particularly because Man City will be, they're going to have to get on with their own game, of course, we all are, particularly given how well they played in the Cup. They'll all be buoyed, they'll all be like, right, we're back on it, lads, forget all this, we're on the title, we're going to put all the pressure on Liverpool. If Liverpool go out and bang 4 or 5 past Brighton, there will be something, I think, in the back of their minds that goes...
I think it'd be a statement to the rest of the league, but from my point of view, like you said before, kind of any win. So we've had first City game was a mental game of football, and we said the Wolves game was second or even third string team. Just getting back to that, having the confidence. So Salah and Bobby came on, and you could tell the difference straight away. Mm-hmm. You put Alisson and Van Dijk into that, I just want to see us control a game of football again and have that confidence of going, everything in his hand here, even if it's like 2-1, 3-1. Going back 3-4 weeks, that's what we were doing, and as if I'm watching it, it's still satisfying watching us do that because I know everything's in hand. I'm watching it, it's relaxing, whereas the City game was like tearing your hair out because it was just so end to end. I just think it's going out and getting a win is more important than scoring 4 or 5 goals, but it will be lovely.
I just hark back to what John said earlier, the media are talking about us. That statement win shuts them up as well. Yeah. And that's a big thing for me, and to be able to put that much pressure on Manchester City with a statement win is exactly what Liverpool want to do. I mean, we're not notoriously fast starters this season, but I actually think this is one of those games where I want to see Liverpool start fast. Because Brighton will be going into this game thinking, they're on a blip there. They don't sit. They won't care about how well we played against Manchester City or the team we played against Wolves. They'll be looking to try and gain a little bit of advantage out of those 2 losses, and they'll want to start fast and try and put us under a little bit of pressure. Get in, cut the knees off straight away, get a goal.
Cut the knees
yeah,
off.
just do it, man. Just do all of it. Like
you're full Guantanamo on the real.
Like swing, and then you're off. Sefer off. You know what I mean?
They're just on the back of a win in the cup, aren't they, Brighton? And they've gone through a bit of a sticky patch, so they'll be quite up for the game. They'll think, oh yeah, we're back in form.
Yeah.
And that's great, because they'll probably come out and attack.
We should be the same, though, shouldn't we, really? Klopp's roused them up to react to a City loss, the first defeat in the league, and saying, well, go and show people what you're made of now, and say, be pissed off about it,
well, it's funny, because in some regards, a statement could win. I'm saying, like, statements in terms of, like, so your average casual, observer goes, oh, wow,
bloody hell,
5 is a big number, therefore statement win. A 2-0 away win probably as much, where Brighton don't cause us too many
the home
problems,
game was the first one. I thought, we're going to batter this lot here. Absolutely marmalise them at Anfield, and we didn't.
No.
And
that was
the first setback.
Football I've seen
that was the Alisson save, 88th minute, wasn't it?
I don't think we should go there expecting to batter them, but we can hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you referenced it there. That Brighton are an odd side. They're a good side, aren't they?
They're good when they're good, and they're bad when they're bad.
Their form is the weird thing, and again, their fans will know better than we ever could. But when you consider, like, the defensive record, they've got a better defensive record than 6 of the teams above them in the league, including Arsenal and United, as they just beat Bournemouth in the cup. They lost to Burnley, drew with Arsenal, and beat Everton in the last 6. There's no rhyme or reason, but there is therefore every reason.
They could have won the game against Arsenal. I watched that game, and Arsenal battered them to begin with, and then Arsenal just fell apart, and were lucky to get away with a draw in the end. And I think Chelsea, they won there, but it was a lot closer than Brighton had their chances. So.
Yeah.
They'll be up for the game, but I think that's good for us, because I think if they think they can beat us, then that makes them vulnerable.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It was last year, Ross. It was a absolutely balmy team selection. We ended up with Gini Wijnaldum and Emre Can in a back 3 with Dejan Lovren.
That ain't happening this week.
Well, that's definitely not happening for a start, because Emre Can might want that to happen.
Touch wood, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, Fabinho might play in defence, like, our DM, but Chan's definitely not playing.
Yeah, but that game, yeah, literally.
He's not playing, is he?
That game last year, it was Phil Coutinho was the one who turned the style on. We had a little clutch of games where he was the one who was the real impetus in that.
That's not happening either.
Well, that's not happening either, but that was one of those games where Xherdan Shaqiri could play an important role in that regard. And it was another one where there's fine margins, where I think Mignolet makes a save from close range from Glenn Murray, and we go down the other end on the counter-attack and stick it away. There's actually no telling how this game is going to go, provided we stick to it, provided we get back to doing what we do. This has got 4-2-3-1 Liverpool written all over it. Really.
Yeah, I think this next couple of weeks we're going to start to see the rotation from December come into play and having that fitness. Now we've got loads of injuries and stuff, but I think we get caught up in a bubble thinking, say, Fabinho's played so many minutes, or Bobby or Mane, whatever, but every other team's in the same position. So Brighton might have knackered players as well. They just played a cup game in midweek as well, who can't rotate heavily because they haven't got the squad depth that we've got. Whereas we have now, fortunately, because of all the injuries, we've got the fitness levels, and people like Shaqiri, who will probably say, there's that many injuries or places in midfield, I can make a statement here and play the next 2, 3, 4 games.
Yeah, I think, Chris, you mentioned it, Fabinho, almost certain to start this game at centre-back, you'd imagine.
Well, I mean, as I say, Klopp before the Wolves game said that there's a chance Matip will be fit, so it depends on whether he's back in training or not, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the last thing we heard on it, and obviously we're filming this before the press conference, he said his fitness is not going to be an issue, but they've not tested him physically yet, and it's how the bone's healed. So whether he gets that opportunity beforehand or not, I think the last word on the Echo was that it might be too soon for both him and Gomez for this game.
In the Mirror this morning, it said 2 weeks for Gomez, end of the month for Matip.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, well, yeah, either way, I think if Matip's not back in training this week, then I think it has to be Fabinho that starts at centre-half. I'd feel fine with that. I did watch the game back, and I looked at Fabinho and Hoover, and both of them did okay. Fabinho grew into that game in a very, very difficult situation. you know, playing with a 16-year-old lad and Alberto Moreno and Simon Mignolet. I mean, could you imagine playing centre-half for the first time for a new club with them? You know
what that's like? That's like, you know, a TV series where there's like a disaster episode and your regular cast gets stuck in an unusual set of circumstances with an unusual set of characters. Like your hard man ends up with looking after the kids in the. There's a lot of Star Trek episodes where they do this. So there's a familiar smile from my dad there because he knows this reference. But yeah, that's what it kind of felt like for Fabinho. Like there's been a mad situation and he's just been left with a bad guy.
I was thinking of George Clooney in ER when he's trying to get a kid stuck in a storm drain and there's a flood. Fabinho must have felt just like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in those circumstances, you think, I'm going to shine here. I'm going to be brilliant.
Yeah, I think you did right on the Fabinho thing. I didn't walk out that game going, "Whoa, maybe Fabinho's future's at centre half." No, but at no point did I ever think he looks like a guy who's not played centre half before. He was absolutely fine.
He was absolutely fine. He's going to be playing, hopefully, with Virgil van Dijk. And Virgil van Dijk has a habit of making everybody he plays with look world class. So
it's the organisation as well, wasn't it? The organisation, that defence, because it was Lovren went off injured, and then it's Fabinho, we said, with 2 other people who probably can't.
Does anyone know where the line's meant to be? Anyone?
Honestly, Rafa Camacho, where are you? No, genuinely, where are you? You're supposed to be playing right back.
What's Milner doing here again?
I had this
Is Moreno playing?
Yeah, I had this in that charity game we played, was it last year? And I ended up playing centre half. I've never played centre half in my life. I've played a lot of games in goal, so I'm familiar with centre halves. But like in the back four of no one who had a clue what it was doing, and I was generally like, am I setting the line here? Like, you know what I mean? Because this is well too high what we're doing here. And it's standing on the halfway line, getting balls lobbed over and getting legged back to our goal.
I don't know if Ollie still watches this, but we had a lad called Ollie who was playing left back alongside me. And he was like Andy Robbo, except he was my size, you know what I mean? And I said like a minute and a half into the game, I was like, Ollie, you there, don't move, don't go forwards because you can't get back. And he bombs on, next thing, trying to get back. I'm like, no, mate, we're not playing modern football here. We're playing old school 90s, full-back sitting.
If I had a rope here,
centre
I'd be going full Hodgson on your arse and get
what I don't understand about, like, when you play 11 aside, it's always like, the 2 fat lads are going to be centre-backs. No offence, Paul, I was talking about my team. So the 2 fat lads are going to go centre-half. Why? Because they put the dead quick lads up front, because that's what you do. The 2 dead fast lads are sitting up front, and the 2 dead fat lads have got to chase them all game. It's not fun. 11 aside is not fun when that's the way it's done.
Where do the fat lads need to get played?
I don't know. Centre mid. Jan Mulvey style centre mid.
Opposition, usually.
On the bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do my best work on the bench.
Yeah, Fabinho very much. I think Fabinho and Hoover both came up with massive credit for completely different ways. Fabinho, because at no point did I watch him and go, ooh, he was a bit Virgil-like in terms of his composure. He had an air of calmness, so he was very cool on the ball. And Hoover, at 16 years old, to show the composure that he did, and he got caught out a couple of times and whatever, yeah, absolutely fine. When you consider that was at Wolves' basically first choice forward line as well, like, in that regard. So I would be more concerned with Hoover coming into this game. I think I've seen a few people in comments saying, oh, does he get his big chance just because he played a first team game for us? It's possible. It's possible, but I think, the FA Cup is what the FA Cup is, and it tells you, it'll tell you again, it'll inform you even much about Klopp's opinion on the FA Cup. If Hoover doesn't start this, then and if Fabinho does, it'll tell you that, yeah, we're taking this far more seriously.
Going into the Wolves game, it was going to be Fabinho and Henderson as the 2 centre-halves. Yeah. So, if Hoover then comes into this game, that would really shock me.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Ross, ultimately, I'm quite comfortable with that. Again, it's another example of the depth that we've got there. That this is not us putting James Milner at centre half or us having to put Gini Wijnaldum at centre half or whatever. Fabinho, he's got the skill set to do the job even in a short spell.
Yeah, I think he showed that against Wolves, to be fair, even like his positional sense or like you said, the calmness of it. Like, there's no point was I worried. Maybe the goal, he lunged in a bit, but then he's probably used to having cover behind him to make that challenge, and we don't have to make slide tackles as a Liverpool side. Yeah. The young lad, don't want to see him, to be honest, only because of the pressure that's on this game and the fact that we need a win. I think it's too much for him. I think we've got a bit of breathing space, or we're even more desperate for a centre half. Then I think he gets his chance, but that's no slight on him. I was talking to Chris Baskin about this earlier in the week, and he said as much. He said,
forget about him for a month or whatever, or just just forget he exists. But just let him go off back to the academy, or continuing training or whatever. Just let him go off the line. Let him go and soak up that. Let him go and analyse performance. Let him go and train. Let him go and have a 17th birthday, for God's sake. And then if we need him further on down the campaign, if we need him, if we are in a this is not Baskin, this is me an addendum to that. If we need him, great. That means he gets to come in and he will remember that game when he went in on a low pressure situation and go in confidence. Whereas we've seen it time and time again. We've ruined young lads by putting too much pressure on them too soon. Look at Ben Woodburn.
And to be honest, I know people said, "Oh, yeah, he had a decent game and all that." He didn't look ready to me. No. He had moments where you could see his ability. But there were loads of times he was way off the pace. He was out of position. He looked a bit lackadaisical, and he didn't have Van Dijk next to him to help him out. But he's 16. Give him a couple of years.
If you told me he was getting a game at right back, I'd be far happy with that, because it's not the be all. It wouldn't be the be all and end all in that.
No, and Fabinho's played right back, so he can defend Fabinho. So.
He becomes a target, doesn't he? If you see his name on a team sheet and you're Brighton, Glenn Murray's just going to be all over him, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. But interesting one nevertheless. If you think that Hoover should be getting a game, let us know in the comments. We're going to do preferred 11s in a second after this short break.
And I think this is really interesting. So you can see him down here now. He played 91 minutes. Forward passes, he completed 23 of 29 at 79%. Back passes 4 of 4 at 100%. Lateral passes, he completed 22 of 23, that's 96%. He tried 2 smart passes, one of which was to James Milner, didn't complete any of them. His progressive passes though, and this is something that really stood out for me, is Keanu Hover's progressive passes. That ball into a midfielder or into a striker, something like that. He completed 16 of 19 at 84%. Let's just take a little look at a sort of overview of how everybody else did in that. So he's completed the most progressive passes from any Liverpool player on the pitch. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? You see Camacho only 6, Lovren 1, all right, Fabinho 16, Moreno 13, Milner 11, Keita 6, Shaqiri 13, 4 from Jones, 2 from Origi, 1 from Firmino, 1 from Salah. He's had 19. And Klopp spoke about it, didn't he, that how brave he is in possession. And I think that's evidenced by his progressive passes, to be honest with you, and still a high completion rate as well. Long passes, he completed 7 of 10, that's 70%. Some very good long passes there. Passes to the final third, he had 12 passes into the final third, only bested by James Milner. Impressive for a centre-half.
Make sure you get over to redmentv.com, sign up, start your 3-month trial, and get involved with all the amazing content, both in video form and in podcast form as well. So if you like podcasts, then we have got you covered. If you like videos, like we tend to do on YouTube, then we've got loads and loads of that stuff as well. So do get involved.
Not just us, are they?
It's not just us.
No, everyone's doing videos on YouTube.
Literally. No, not everyone.
I'm not.
Who? Who isn't?
People just doing audio.
Do they? Weird.
I know. There you go. But the vast majority, I think it's fair to say. Preferred 11s. Normally, we'd go around the room and show everyone's 11. There's no point. Everyone's got the same 11. Who are we going to put the graphic on?
Should they just put it up on the screen?
Just put it up on Ross. Go on, look. Let's have Ross. Let's have Ross discuss it. Ross.
Yes.
Discuss our preferred 11.
There is no one else, Paul. Alisson back in goal. Trent there. Fabinho. I did put Matip in. I think everyone else did. See if he was fit. Put him in. Otherwise, Fabinho goes in midfield. Lovren decided he didn't want to warm up properly on Wolves, so he's ruled himself out. Van Dijk back in there and Andy Robertson. And then has everyone else gone 4-2-3-1?
Everyone's gone 4-2-3-1.
Yeah. So Hendo, Gini, and then Shaqiri and firepower up top. Because we want goals.
Yeah, I think we can all agree with that. The teams all kind of dripped in over to me, and I was like, yeah, if I started writing my dad's, realised it was the same as mine, got past Ross's, same as mine, then Chris came in, same. Yeah, I mean, that, as we say, the only addendum to that might be that thing that if Matip is fit, if that's the case, Fabinho in midfield for...
I'm not convinced Fabinho in midfield.
Okay.
So Hendo hasn't played. So unless he's carrying an injury, which we don't know about. Hendo and Gini's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one thing, isn't it? Because is that Henderson, knowing that he missed out on the game with a slight problem. There is, I could make a case for a couple of the fringe players. and I think Kate is actually starting to fall into the world of being a bit of a fringe player at the moment. But the lads who it's pretty much the first team.
I think it has to be. I think there is a level of importance to this game that we discussed earlier on, that you just can't take this one for granted. You know, just like that Tottenham game after the international break when we beat them 2-1 was just such a big game, and it's going to set the tempo for the next month. We had a poor start to 2019. We've got to put our first team out and get a result and turn our fortunes around.
Yeah, it's interesting because looking at the rival fixtures, what we've been talking about about the FA Cup stuff, it's disappointing to go to the FA Cup. There's no getting away from that, because we want to see Liverpool win every game of football. We want us to win every trophy that we entered into. When you start to look at the fixtures like this week, I'd forgotten. I've been talking about these two-legged semi-finals coming up in the League Cup. Like Chelsea Spurs, was it, played last night? Totally forgot about that. Completely forgot that was a thing.
It's a full-blooded competitive game of football.
Yeah.
You know, where you can get yellow cards or injuries or whatever. And it puts pressure on teams. You know, I mean the papers are full of how Liverpool have now got like 5 games in 2 months or something, and you know, City have got twice that many, and that's important. You know, and find the FA Cup. I mean, I love the FA Cup because I'm a traditionalist, but at the end of the day, our priority's got to be winning the Premiership.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, is that there's no them having those extra fixtures. There's no guarantee of anything for Liverpool at all, Chris. But when we, particularly on the back of a World Cup year, particularly with things so competitive at the top of the league, we've just come through an incredibly intense December period, and we've nearly fallen to bits at the end of it. These teams have all come through an exactly the same intense period, and they're going into a super intense January as well. That I can't help, but I'm no sports scientist, but my basic knowledge of sports science will tell me that should not guarantee anything, but it should go in Liverpool's favour, provided we do it the right way.
Yeah, it absolutely should. You know, we talked about it on the podcast yesterday, Paul. There's going to be more recovery days. There's going to be more tactical days where they can look at the other teams. There's just more time for us to analyse and look back and decide where we're going and what we're doing. You know, Klopp's probably booking that warm weather training. I don't know. I don't feel like the results have been great immediately after it. But certainly last season, after that little getaway, you know, the squad all comes together again. They've probably not had time to sort of bond and talk things through as a team and get back onto it. But after that last season, we were fantastic. Yeah. We were in that run for 4th place, of course. We obviously went to the Champions League final. So that'll be good for the team as well. Just having a bit of breathing room, you know.
The weather, you know, towards the end of January, early Feb is going to be really awful here, probably. Normally is. So, you know, getting away and being able to train outdoors, you know, that's great.
And, you know, again, the World Cup thing that we see it after every major tournament, teams just fall to bits at the end of the season. The last 6 weeks of the season is an absolute bloodbath, and we've seen it already. Forgive me, I can't remember who it was who tweeted it, but it was like the injury chart, and basically Arsenal have been quite relatively injury free because they just didn't have players at the tournament. Every team, us, Spurs and City, in terms of the injuries that we had, it's just littered with red, because the guys who played the most football are the guys who were struggling the most this season. So, you know, there will still be a question about how we handle the Champions League, of course. But if Klopp's bang up for going on those 2 fronts, then we've at least given ourselves no excuses for not being able to have a go on both of those fronts. Yeah,
I mean, again, my priority is the Premiership, but you know, we're well placed in the Champions League, even though we haven't been brilliant in it. Mm-hmm. And we're going to be playing Bayern after they've come out of a winter break, which is brilliant. Yeah, you know, they're going to be trying to get back to some kind of form. And we're going to be right bang at it. Yeah, brilliant.
Looking at the fixtures this weekend, then obviously we know City. At the day of filming, City are playing Brighton. Saturday, West Ham Arsenal's the early kickoff. We are 3 o'clock on the Saturday. Chelsea Newcastle's 5:30. Sunday, Spurs United, which will be very, very interesting. Big test for Ole. First big test. Are you predicting that one?
Draw.
Really knackered Spurs side after midweek exertions get caught with the pants down by Man United, and all of a sudden United are back in the hunt.
It's a funny one, because you want to burst United's bubble, you know, because of their winning streak, and yet at the same time you want Spurs to drop points. So
draw. It's win-win that for us, really. That's a perfect Sunday afternoon.
Depends if Harry Kane falls over again.
Yeah, I like if I could.
Oh, he doesn't fall, does he? Let's face it.
Fall? No, he is. It falls
Die.
with style.
And grace.
I'd want United to go 2 goals up early, and then Spurs to draw level
To
with
get
about
2
80
penalties.
gone, and then a Harry Kane dive penalty 93rd minute. Get a bit of both, like, you know what I mean.
I think Harry Kane
Get
dive,
the draw and get United.
second
really
yellow
ahead.
card, sent off, 2-2 draw, cuts everyone down to size, perfect. Man City Wolves, 8 o'clock Monday, as you referenced earlier, Chris. Wolves were the first team to give Man City a bloody nose this season. We've seen the damage they can do. Once again, though, I hold zero hope for this, in the hope that that will somehow come back in our favour. But no, I think, yeah.
Wolves was 1-0.
Yeah.
That's why we lost, isn't it? It's a favour.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll give 100%, they won't.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about Wolves, is they'll be up for it.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Again, no expectations on that. Ross, what's your score prediction? Liverpool, Brighton.
2-0.
Dad?
3-0.
3-0.
Yeah.
Can you ask me before your dad in future?
Why do you feel like,
Just
do you
say
feel like
one.
Literally every single week.
let's write them down in future. And then
Okay,
you
yeah,
can
let's
feel,
do that.
And then you can feel. I mean, ultimately, it makes no difference what does
To me,
I think you're a bad copy.
I'm a bad gag.
I'll take 2-0's absolutely fine by me. Let's go back to how we did Palace away, or that kind of thing, or maybe a late third would do me very nicely in that regard. But yeah, I'd be happy with that. Let us know your score predictions in the comments below. Gentlemen, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back post-match. Of course we will. Hope you've enjoyed the show. Drop a like on the video if you have. Thoughts on anything we discussed in the comments below. And of course, make sure you get over to the redmentv.com. Sign up. We have got stats and tactics from Chris. We've got the Reds transfer roundup, keeping you up to date with everything going on in the ins and outs of Liverpool Football Club. And there'll be a final word show after the Brighton game as well. So make sure that you go and check it out. We shall see you there.